Hi everyone, Denise Scattergood here, and welcome to Positive Forward Motion. I am so excited that you've decided to listen to today's episode. Today we have a very special guest, Cassandra Bankson. Cassandra will share her journey of positive forward motion, and I know you will be inspired to learn how she rose above bullying, self-doubt, and depression to become one of the most influential young women in the world today. During this interview, Cassandra will share her story as well as unfold her personal mission statement by answering the same 4 questions I posed to my listeners in the 8-minute podcast titled Mission Statement. It is my honor to have this opportunity to meet with Cassandra, so sit back, listen, learn, and be prepared to be inspired. So before we get started, Cassandra, just say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell the listeners a little bit about you.
Well, thank you so much, Denise, and thank you for having me on Positive Forward Motion. I feel like that's definitely a theme that we should live by. You know, one of my favorite quotes from Oprah Winfrey is just put one foot in front of the other and take the next logical step. And throughout my life, from suffering with acne and depression and self-worth image issues due to the way I looked, to growing that into an online business that is aimed at empowering other women to love themselves regardless of their condition and to work through some of those issues that they might be facing with their physical appearance. You know, having that mindset of staying positive and kind of looking for the silver lining within your situation is really something that you can take into your own hands to improve your life immediately instead of, waiting for that someday when our skin will be clear or our body will be the right shape. So Denise, everything you stand for is something that I completely relate to. And I want to thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. And my question to you is, what was that turning point, do you think? What was that moment where you just had that courage and as I say, you let that pain outweigh the fear, right? You took that step going, you know what, I'm not going to be fearful anymore because this is painful not only to myself, but to others. And I have something here that I can help. And it took a lot. So I'll stop. But if you could elaborate on that a little bit and that maybe that turning point or that moment where I'm sure you were still scared to death, but you did it anyway.
Terrified is like the perfect adjective for it. A little bit before that video was posted on YouTube. So as a precursor, I was bullied in school for having acne. I first got acne when I was in the 3rd grade, and it was something that followed me throughout my life. To one point, I had seen 24 doctors and dermatologists who had not been able to help me. And it was so frustrating because this is something that I lived with on my face. And, kids at school are anything but nice. We're all going through changes and we all need some way to release our anger or our frustrations. And I kind of felt like the punching bag, not only from other students, but from myself, because I had a lot of self-worth issues. And what ended up happening is that after switching schools, after graduating 2 years early, because I did a private study program, and after really distancing and alienating myself from pretty much everybody, I started to learn about makeup. Doing self-study taught me a lot about research. And I started to think, what is this makeup? What is concealer? How do I layer these things? And those skills progressed to the point that I could put on a mask, where even if I didn't feel beautiful without it, I could put this on and I could face the real world. I could look at my parents in the eyes and not feel like a waste of their air and time. I go out into the world and make friends and not tell them about my secret because I could cover my acne so well. And it ended up to the point where I was cast as a runway model. I started modeling for magazines and billboards, and you would think that this would be enlightening and liberating and, the ugly duckling at school is now this beautiful model. But for me, I just felt like a hypocrite, a suicidal teenager who couldn't even look in the mirror. And now I'm being paid to be pretty. And it didn't feel to me like both of those people fit in the same body. And doctors had always told me that they had other patients with acne, but I felt so alone. Like I had never seen them. I was like, okay, whatever. But I thought to myself, if there's really another girl out there who is struggling with this and she's hurting herself or she doesn't want to live anymore because of the way she looks, and if this is what I use to get through every single day to the point that people actually think I'm pretty, it felt wrong to not share that. And back in 2010, YouTube wasn't really a thing. Nobody really knew about it. So I thought to myself, okay, I'll put this out here. Only people who are searching for it will see it. And then Google bought YouTube and the internet blew up. And that fear was still imminent even after I posted the video. It was something that I didn't check YouTube for 4 months because of. Because, when you hear that you're supposed to die every day, or that you're a waste of space, or you're the infection, you're pizza face, you're a walking disease, and when you tell yourself that every day in your head, you don't think that anonymous strangers online will be much kinder. So it was like a good 4 to 6 months before I checked the internet again. And when I did, I was actually overwhelmed. Not negatively, but positively. It was like the first time that I had actually seen people and humanity respect me and love me for who I was without makeup. And people were telling me I was beautiful with my green eyes, and that I was pretty, that even without foundation on my skin. And to me, that was so opposite of everything I had told myself and heard from other people for the last 5 years, that it really, it supported that terror, but it also supported the drive that was deeper than that fear, that was deeper than that pain. And it turned that pain into a passion and a purpose.
Oh, and I love that. And it's so difficult that you had to go through it. As you go through it and you're coming out the other side and you learned and you become a voice for so many others, it doesn't make it like, sometimes it's like, it was so purposeful and I'm so glad that it happened to me and the whole bit, but you couldn't look back and change it. You can't make it any different. So you took what you had and bravely moved forward and shared it with so many others. And I can relate in the sense that when I was a kid, I was bullied. I was bullied for completely different reasons. When I was in grade school, I was bullied because my family worked hard and they owned a business and we lived in a nice house and we had nice cars and nice vacations, and they didn't really know what was going on inside. I have a brother with a mental illness, and there was just so much struggle. And kids can be really, really mean. And I often think nowadays with the social media, because when I was a kid, at least I could go home and that was it. I was home. There wasn't texting, there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't social media. There wasn't a way for kids to keep coming at me. And as you were talking, I wrote down how without even knowing what you did, you used social media to flip it around. You used that power that others could have on you and you turned it right back against them to say, no, here I am. Here's the real me and here's what's going on and this can help others. So amazing. And I'm sure that has absolutely inspired others to help. And I don't want to speak for you, but I know that whenever I hit my lowest low or had the toughest times in my life, I'm a big writer on my mirror. And I always write on my mirror, everything happens for the greater good. And sometimes it's very difficult to find that greater good. What is the message? What is going on? How am I to help others? And sometimes it may be just to have empathy for others who might be going through the same thing. So we look for this big epiphany or this big lesson. And a couple years ago, I went through a struggle and I remember thinking, you know what? Maybe I just never really realized how somebody in this situation has felt. But now I know, and now I'm going to have a stronger empathy for them.
That's so true. And, Denise, you raised a great point. I think that as humans, we like to try to have everything under control. I don't want to generalize or stereotype, but I feel like girls especially, we want everything to go just as according to plan. We want to make it meticulous and predict the future. But the only thing that is certain is the fact that change isn't. So the instability is the only thing that's actually guaranteed. And it's one of those things where we want instances in our life to happen linearly. We want step 1, step 2, step 3. But things end up just being scattered in front of us and it looks like a big mess on the floor. And it isn't until we walk through that and walk past that we can turn around and see how all of those dots are connected into some sort of pattern or some sort of path. And when looking back, we're like, oh, that's how it was supposed to work out. That's what I learned. That's what I taught others. But until we go through that, it's not apparent. And even with my acne, it took 3 years for me to even be able to look in the mirror and take the papers off my mirror again and to say, I am worth and my value as a human is worth more than what I look like. And it's a little bit hypocritical to say, oh, there's this girl promoting self-love and how does your makeup and skincare, but she's struggling too. But I think that struggle is something we all go through, but we're just so afraid to reveal. And like you said, it could just be empathy. It could just be understanding. Having acne taught me not only how people feel about their skin, but how people feel with racial discrimination, with religious discrimination. And it opened my mind to end my life to so many new opportunities that I would not have had with the mindset that I had before struggling with acne. As hard as it is to say this today, I'm glad that I went through it. I wouldn't want to do it again, but I'm glad that it happened because I am proud of the person that I am today. And I know that there's something that I am able to do for the service of others. If it weren't for acne, I never would have figured out that purpose.
Absolutely. And for people looking who maybe would see you for the first time as a model and having it all and the whole bit, it really helps us to remember that these are other humans. This is another person. They go through the same struggles and have feelings and emotions, and we don't know. We don't know. So judging others and just to stop and take that pause. And you are such a support system for so many, 28 million people who have seen over 28 million who have seen your video and can stop and take pause and go, oh my goodness, you really help them and you help so many. So I'd like to know who is your support system?
So my support system is a little bit funny. I would say it's always been my parents, but when I was younger, I pushed them away. And I think this is a really valuable lesson for mothers or for big sisters, I guess. My mom always meant the best for me. When I was going through this and when I would tell her what happened at school, she would look at me and she would say, oh, honey, they're just jealous. You're so beautiful. It's because you're tall. They just have nothing better to do with their time. They're not focusing in the right direction, so they're bored and they need an outlet. And while, of course, maybe that was true, I couldn't understand that at the time. And my mom, she had 2 pimples on her wedding day. She's never had a manicure in her entire life. So I felt like she didn't understand what I was going through. And because school was so different with social media, you couldn't just turn off the bullies, like you could when you walked away from school back when she was growing up in the 60s and 70s. And I started to push my mom away because as much as she was trying to help, I felt like she just didn't get it. And looking back, I wish that things had happened differently. Of course, I wish I had acted differently. I wish that I saw her love, not just the pain that I felt. I feel like I saw everything through this filter of pain and self-disgust. Online today, I kind of see myself as an older sister, and I try to help other people with acne and self-worth and understanding skincare and cosmetics, not as something we need to be beautiful, but as a creative form of self-expression. And as I look at what I wished that my mom would have known, I try to implement some of those things to how I approach things online as a big sister. And it's this idea that instead of telling somebody, this is what you should do, I know this, I've been there, I completely understand, here's the answer, that sometimes pushes people away. And it feels controlling or it feels forceful. But if my mom were to have said to me, hey, honey, this is an article I found in the paper or online. I'm just going to leave it here. If you want to look at it, feel free. Or, hey, honey, I know school sucks. I went through some real crap when I was in school too. I don't know what you're going through, but maybe we had some of the same issues. If you want to talk, let me know. If she had put it into my lap, I feel like I would have been more open or more receptive. Whereas when it's just kind of handed to you or kind of shoved down your throat like a lecture, sometimes you avoid the information that you want to hear. And to women who are dealing with, marital things or financial issues, which I feel like everybody goes through relationship and financial stuff at some point, sometimes we hear the best advice from others, but we push it away. And it isn't until we're ready for that advice or we seek it out ourselves that we're open to understanding what it means. That's something that I take right now. And I think that that's why YouTube videos have been so successful and helpful, because it's just there for people. And when they need it or when they want to search about their skin or mental health or what it is they're dealing with, it's available. And it's not, thrown onto their doorstep or shoved into their face through advertising or, mailers or anything of that nature.
Absolutely. I love that because we all do take our lessons and our steps at our time. And I love what you shared. I'm a mom of 2 daughters, and I have a amazing mom myself, super empowering and motivating, and she has every reason why she could complain about life, but she's one of the most positive people I've ever met. But you're absolutely right. As a mom, there's times we want to cuddle and help, and it's going to be okay. And we do see the beauty in our children and the love and the whole bit. But to stop and to have you share it, not only for folks that are going through what you're going through, but that message right there to other moms who don't know what to say. They don't know how to help because they've been through some experiences and they know it's going to get better and they just want to hug you and make it go away. But to really have that empathy and have it unfold and give you the power to see it for yourself and do better and have that support system. So has your mom gotten that message a little bit, and does she do things maybe a little bit differently because of what you've learned and that closeness?
She does. And I think that, it's not that she does much different. She's always been a tomboy. She's been half covered in mud since the day I was born. She's 16. She rides motorcycles.
I want to meet her. I love her.
What I love about her is that she hasn't changed. It's always been this unconditional love, support, and desire to help. But what changed was my willingness to listen to that, my willingness to say, I can see the beauty that you see in me. Or even if I don't, I'm going to respect that it's there. And what changed was me self-loathing and deprecating and, learning to let that go and not see my life through a filter of that pain. But, it did teach me something really important as to how to approach this to others. You could go to somebody who you see who's struggling with an issue that you overcame. It could be physical, like a broken arm, or it could be, something emotional. Let's say it's a relationship and you say, girl, I know how this feels. Let me tell you how I fixed my relationship. But if they're not ready to hear that, or if they're not in a place that they can, it's just going to feel intrusive and overwhelming and like it's opening a wound. But if they're ready to hear those things, and if you say like, I've had issues as well. If you ever want to talk, they might come to you and say, hey, how do I deal with, being attracted to somebody else, or if my partner cheated on me, or financial strains on my relationship. And if they come to you, it's a gift that you're giving them. Whereas if you want to give somebody a gift, sometimes it's not always the right time.
Well said, and you're absolutely right. Not the right timing. And I say it all the time, just keep moving forward, being true to yourself. And that ties us right into this topic that we're expanding on, because as we know, companies have mission statements, right? And most companies all have a mission statement, which is to help them stay on course. Their mission statements usually don't change very often, because they're to help the company stay on track, give the direction to the members and so forth. But as we grow and change and evolve, our mission statement and what we want to do and project, and it's our promise to ourselves, will change and evolve. And I'd like to kind of go through all my podcasts are 8 minutes or less on the topics. And of course, when we do interviews, we expand on them. So rather than have you even share how you came to this mission statement or what it is, I'd like to walk you through the questions that I pose on my short podcast that will help listeners come to their own mission statement through exactly what you're talking about now, self-discovery, because what matters to you and what is important to you is absolutely the most important thing in the world, because you matter. The listeners, you matter exactly who you are and what is important to you. And oftentimes we try to be so many things for everyone else, or those folks that do listen to everything that comes down the road and they, oh, maybe I should be this and maybe I should be that. And why don't you be the best you that you can be? So I'd like to start with the very first question. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind, in the sense that you imagine yourself when you're 100 years old? What do you want to be known for?
So that's a great question, Denise. To answer that, what is the legacy that I want to be known for? Or what is it that in 100 years I want people to look back and remember me by? And I think that the answer would be someone who's fearless and not afraid to stand up to our ideals of beauty. Having roots as a model in the fashion industry, being challenged by body types and skin issues and these things, and pioneering through that, almost destroying my career by posting my bare skin online. It was terrifying, but it gave me this sense of liberation, which has now kind of become addicting. And I think that at the very end, I want to be remembered as somebody who, I guess, kind of lived by example, showed other people that it's okay to step into your own shoes no matter what they look like. And it's okay to stand up for who you are and not be ashamed of your past or who you are becoming.
Oh, I love it. And that's wonderful. The question number 2 is, well, let me go back to question number 1 and talk a little bit about what you shared, because that is our times right now as well. And that was to be fearless and not to be afraid to stand up and speak out. And you are the epitome of that when you said, oh my gosh, I could have ruined my career. However, being so authentically you, it actually worked quite the opposite. And you were being authentic. You didn't have an agenda. You were saying, if this can help one person, then I'm going to do it because that one person matters. And we are in a climate right now of a lot of change, especially with women and speaking up and speaking our truth and speaking our voice. And I just want to put out there to all the women listening, as well as the men, because they're going to be dads and husbands and partners and the whole bit, is that it's the collaboration and the togetherness of the good rather than the competition that is really going to help make that change and keep us moving in a positive forward motion direction. So I wanted to add that in there. The second question is, what type of environment do you want to live in? So how have you made sure, because environment absolutely affects behavior. And oftentimes someone may say, well, this is my legacy. This is what I want to do. But then what they're creating and who they're surrounding themselves with and the environment that they're living in can create more drama and a mess and actually get in their way. So I'll ask you that question. What type of environment, Cassandra, do you want to live in, and do you create for yourself to help you follow your personal mission statement?
That's a great question, Denise. I really think that environment is so important because it is the physical reflection of our mental state in certain ways. And if you would have asked me 2 years ago, I would have said, I want to be in LA. I want to be in New York. That's where the fashion and the beauty is that, is my business. But I've realized, and I've tried to go to New York and LA, and it didn't work for me. I was born and raised in San Francisco, where, you go 2 hours north, you're in the snow, you go 30 minutes towards the ocean, you're in the water, and you go 20 minutes north and you're in the forest. As I mentioned, my mom rides motorcycles. She's been half covered in mud for every day of her life. And I realized that I thrive best in environments that really make me feel connected to nature. I realized that even though I'm in the beauty industry, what I do is not beauty. I don't really care about makeup and fashion and trends. I care about people feeling beautiful, recognizing their worth, and getting through their insecurities to share their unique light. But I realized the girl with acne or the kid who's struggling with his physical appearance and his body weight, he's not looking for, how to make an impact in the world. That young girl isn't looking for how to be my best self and impact others. She's searching for how to cover my acne. The kids are searching for how to lose weight or how to look better in pictures. So I have to take this message that I've learned through going through it and wrap it into the makeup, the trends, and the beauty. And I use those as tools, both as creatively on my face and my skin, but as tools of empowerment that help direct people to what they really need to hear. And I think that having an environment that, surrounds me by trees and by nature. I'm 30 minutes from the city, so I can be in the hustle and bustle if I want to. But I have kind of this grounding space that I can step out of and remind myself that there was so much here before these buildings were. To me is just so humbling. And I think that is the environment I thrive best in.
Oh, I love it. One of my favorite sayings is, I have to get outside in order to get inside.
Ooh, I love that.
Absolutely. And question number 3, I'm sure that myself and the audience could all answer for you based on your enthusiasm and passion and conviction. But for the audience to answer for themselves as well is to identify what fires you up. For some folks, it's when they're creating. For others, it's when they're competing. And that's okay to be competitive and want to do that, because if that's what is the passion and fires you up. Some it's adventuring. That's your mom outside adventuring, having a lot of fun. And for others, it's, when they can really just stop and help others and get that feedback that what they did at that moment made a difference. So they can all be obviously combined together. But if you had to choose just that, God, that fires me up, what would that be?
The answer would be learning. For me, there is a spark of curiosity. And once you start digging, the more knowledge you have, the less you actually know. That ongoing curiosity and just being a learner, whether it's in school, whether it's communicating with others about a personal story, whether it's traveling to a different country and throwing yourself into a new culture and language, that exploration of knowledge is something that fuels every other thing that I do.
I love it. I love it. And number 4 is we pose the question, what's important to you? And reminding the listeners to remember that it's your life. And this question oftentimes they'll go, what's important to me? And they'll often stop and think, well, what do others want me to be? And that's not the question. The question is, what's important to you? So in the sense of, some folks want to have nice things. Others want a more simpler life with less things. It's okay as long as you identify what is important to you. So how would you answer that? What is most important to you?
That's a great question, Denise. And when you mentioned material items and certain things, I actually went through a really tough time of understanding what was important to me versus others. I call this shoulding on yourself. Like, I should be this, I should do that, I should impress this person. And especially as a model with acne, there was a long time that I didn't feel beautiful. And I thought that by having material items, I could make up for what I lacked. And the truth is that, by 17, I was in $40,000 of credit card debt. And I was trying to buy my way out of an insecurity that had nothing to do, with anything external, with the handbags, with anything. It was an internal issue. And I got myself out of that when I realized this doesn't actually improve my life. For me, this doesn't add value. And that's when I started turning to learning, and I started to ask myself, what is it that's truly most important to me? And the answer would be communication. I think that communication and education, having the opportunity to learn from others and teach where I can, that to me is the most essential thing. And I've learned that I can live for 3 months out of a backpack in Colombia, or I could be in a hotel room in New York City during Fashion Week, or I could be at my parents' house up in Northern California. But as long as I've got that ability to communicate and to learn from others, that I'm pretty good.
Oh, I absolutely love it. And would you be so kind in the sense to take those 4, if you can kind of remember, and just sum it up in Cassandra Bankson's mission statement?
Yeah. So I would say my mission statement starts with what I believe in. There's a TED Talk from Simon Sinek called Find Your Why that I found very helpful to taking all of my thoughts and ideas and just putting them into a short phrase. The answer is that I believe that people are beautiful inside and out, but I understand that sometimes insecurities get in the way of us acting on that. I believe that when we feel inspired, whether it's seeing a moving TV film, whether it's seeing an act of kindness or reading something in the paper, when we feel inspired, we are driven and empowered to make positive action. It gives us the ability to step into our own shoes. And that drive is what allows us to break free of our own insecurities and do what we can uniquely to change and enhance this world. And through the YouTube videos I post, through blog posts, Instagram posts, helpful messages, podcasts, and everything else, it all boils down to that. Sharing the inspirational stories and figuring out how we can celebrate others and therefore be driven to improve the world ourselves.
Oh, it's beautiful. And you're so right. And it's so great for the listeners to also understand to use the steps to create your own personal mission statement. And it can change and evolve as life experiences. As you mentioned, you love education. And I love your saying there, the more you learn, the more you realize what you don't know. And I want to give a big shout out to Simon Sinek as well. I love his power of why. I use it so often. It resonated with me so well because I grew up, I'm such a why person. I always want to know the why before the do. And as a trainer and a teacher, I think that's why I'm successful, because I always share why, and then you back up and go, this is how, and then people are empowered to understand how to get there. And when we use that for ourselves, I love it. It's very, very simple. It's simple, but very, very impactful.
It's true. Whether you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, whether you're a small business startup, whether you're a parent or a sister or just somebody who's trying to make it through school, every single person has a story. Every single person has credibility, and every single person has a purpose. And I think that having a mission statement, whether it's professional or personal, it helps you communicate your purpose and how others can help you and how you can help them in the easiest way possible. It's important for everybody.
Absolutely. And when I did this exercise myself, as I went through it and I rewrote my mission statement, and what it really allows folks to do, because there's so many distractions nowadays and we can, just get off track so easily, is that when you have that mission statement, it's that promise to yourself and it allows you to stay in the lane that you want to be in. And again, I'll say this as women because quite often we can get off track because why? We want to be all things to everyone. We don't want to let others down. We want to be the best helper. But when you make that promise to yourself to say, this is the environment I want to live in. This is my mission statement. This is what fires me up. And this is what's important to me. And you write it out and put it somewhere that you can read it every day. And again, as I mentioned, if you walked in my bathroom, you'd laugh because my bathroom mirror is just loaded with words. But that reminder every day that this is my personal mission statement helps you stay that focus and stay that course to be of value to yourself. But when you are the best value to yourself and take care of you, that's when you are such an inspiration to others. And that's what you have done and that's what you continue to do. And again, I just want to hug you. I'm so proud of you. So proud of you. So I always like to end the podcast with one, of course, I want to let everyone out there, you can share with them how they can find you and all of that great stuff because it's wonderful. But if there was one positive forward motion statement, and there was just one that you could tell the audience today, that just this one little thing, what would it be?
A positive forward statement that I wish everyone could hear is that what you offer this world has nothing to do with what you look like.
Say that again, please.
The one positive forward statement that I wish everybody could hear is that what you have to offer this world has absolutely nothing to do with what you look like.
What a wonderful message. What a wonderful message. And folks want to go out there and find you. I know, just please share how they can easily find you.
Thank you, Denise. For the YouTube videos on makeup and inspiration and how to get over feeling drained every day, you can search for Cassandra Bankson. That's Bankson as in advice you would give to a child, put your money in the bank, son, on Instagram and on the blog as well. And it depends on whether you're more visual, whether you like videos, or whether you like reading things. And also, Denise, your website. I know you have a lot of great information there as well.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you so much. And I have to say that I did rewatch your flat tummy one, and it makes so much sense. It doesn't matter how old or young or whatever. We all like to have a little bit, want to fit nicer in those slacks, especially the holidays are coming around. So you gave some really great tips and ideas there that I'm putting into practice. And I love the little sugar sort. I didn't even know that. Like I'm Miss Health Conscious, but that you gave some really great tips there too as well. So
you see how like it's okay how to get a flat tummy, but like you sneak the science in there it's like, okay, but there's something more here.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And that's because you're a learner and a teacher. I absolutely love it. And the part of when you go to sleep and the whole bit. But anyway, for all the listeners out there, go and you're going to be so inspired. And thank you. You're so gracious with your time today. I know you're a super busy lady, and thank you so much, so much. I know we're going to add so much value to so many listeners, and keep up the positive forward motion, lady.
Thank you, Denise. You as well. I had not only the emails that we were exchanging, but I had a dream about it. And I was like, you know what? There are certain things that matter. None of us have time, but we all have ways to prioritize our time. And this is one of them for me. So thank you for the opportunity and just for everything you do to help others.
You got it. Same back to you, and many blessings.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening in today. I hope you found value in this episode, and if you did, please spread the good. I invite you to subscribe, rate, review, and share. And remember, no matter how small your step is, as long as you continue to move into the direction of your dreams, that's what I call positive forward motion. To learn more, visit denisescattergood.com. And as always, I'm wishing you all continued happiness and success, both personally and professionally. And keep up the positive forward motion.